Welcome to the Avro Heritage Museum podcast.
Hello and welcome back. Andy Flynn is one of the key figures looking after all the electrics in the aircraft at our museum. Andy started work in Woodford in 1979 in the main assembly hangar before moving down to the flight sheds and then becoming a supervisor inspector in the flight test centre in 1989. As the title suggests, this involved inspection of electrical wiring within aircraft and of the functioning of electrical systems. We hear about his work on Nimrods, Buccaneers, the HS-125, the ATP and Hawker Siddeley 146, not only at Woodford but on different overseas flight trials. This included work on British Aerospace 146 Glux, an aircraft which, after 23 years of service, was awarded a new lease of life as a flying laboratory for use by the Facility for Airborne Atmospheric Measurements. Over the last 21 years, this aircraft has carried out science campaigns in more than 30 countries, capable of operating in almost every part of the world. It's used by universities from across the UK, as well as by the country's National Weather Service. We also hear from Andy about the lighter side of life at Woodford, but also about times when security levels were high, and about his current involvement in the museum.
Yes, it was a lifelong interest as a child, but actually working at aerospace, I worked for a company called Ferranti before that. I wasn't very happy there towards the end, and there was an opening at Woodford here. I applied for the job and got the job as an inspector.
Yeah, and what were you doing at Ferranti?
I was what they call a wireman, radio met, wiring computers and military equipment.
Yeah.
Then I went on to inspection.
Okay.
At Ferranti's.
And is that Hollinwood?
That was at Wythenshawe.
Oh, Wythenshawe.
Simon's Way as well.
Simon's Way, right, okay. And again, just to give people a little foretaste about some of the aircraft we're going to be touching on, some extremely well known, the Nimrod, the Buccaneer. Tell us a little bit about a Buccaneer. It was a Blackburn Buccaneer, was it?
It was a Blackburn Buccaneer, and it came in for a navigation update and weapons update.
Right. And that was a maritime strike aircraft. Yeah. And you probably maybe also going to touch on the Hawker Siddeley 125.
Yeah.
It's an executive jet. ATP, very well known. 146, and other particular things about that you want to tell us about. We talked about your title. In a nutshell then, what does a flight test centre supervisor inspector or do, or what did they do at the time you did the job? Can you kind of capture that?
Yeah, we had inspectors on the aircraft, mechanical and electrical, and there's an electrical supervisor who was looking after all the electrical inspectors, plus all the paperwork, or making sure all the stages were stamped up, all the flight paperwork was okay, modifications, any CAA, FAA paperwork came through, making sure all that was okay. Eventually, signing the aircraft for flight.
Did that involve much travel? Were you on one base, lots of bases, travelling?
Based here at Woodford, but I did go on flight trials on the 146 Glux to Roswell in New Mexico. Spent 3 weeks in Roswell doing engine tests there. There again, I was a supervising inspector responsible for doing all the flight paperwork, making sure stages were signed up, then signing the paperwork fit for flight so the pilot would sign.
So tell us a bit more about the 146 Glux though.
When Glux came in from Hartfield, Glux was the actual original 146 100 series. Then it got converted into a 200, then 300 series. When it came to Woodford, it was a 300. My boss at the time gave me responsibility to look after on the inspection side of it. And I stayed with that all the way through, doing flight trials. And then eventually that became a environmental flight aircraft. I used to love working on 146.
What was it about that was so...
I don't know, it was just something about it. It was just one of the aircraft. You get a feel for these things, you know. I used to like working on them, flying on them, say flying from here to the States. Right? We actually flew from Woodford through to Iceland and then from Iceland into Canada. Unfortunately, 146 went tech, engine problem, spent 3 days in Goose Bay. before we motored on down to Roswell.
Do you have any other particular favourites apart from what was it?
Buccaneer was quite an interesting aircraft to work on. Very tight, being of a sort of small stature, if you like, going in the cockpit underneath the panels, very tight. Some of the panels the same with Nimrod, really. I used to like working on Nimrods. There again, getting under the cockpit part, under the panels in the cockpit. We seem to be one of the jobs I used to get because of the nature of my build.
You could get in where others couldn't.
Get in where others couldn't. Yeah. Same with here at the museum, really. But apart from that, I was quite happy working on Nimrods.
So, how many years in total, roughly, were you doing this inspector supervisor job?
I started here inspection in 1979, and I progressed into various roles, finishing as a senior quality engineer in 2002.
Right, so it's 23 years, isn't it?
3 years.
Over that time, there's obviously constant change, isn't there? But I wondered, because it is nearly a quarter of a century, isn't it? Were there any particular developments, perhaps, in the technology where you thought, wow, this is a game changer, this? Or was it all gradual?
Well, when I started here at Woodford, we were working with drawings, and we had a drawing stores. So if you wanted a particular drawing out to check a job, you had to, where I was in finals, it's about a quarter of a mile to the drawing stores. Then you had to go and find the particular drawing. The ladies would find it, and then you'd sign the drawing out. And sometimes the drawing you wanted was already signed out by an electrician. So you had to go and find the electrician to see if he still wanted the drawings. In some cases, he forgot to take it back. So I had to go all the way back to drawing stores with the drawing, get it signed out under my name. It was quite interesting times. Then eventually the computers started coming in, and it was all started becoming electronic then.
But you were able then to call those up on on a device.
Yeah.
You just mentioned there something that does intrigue me, because you talked about the ladies who sorted the drawings out for you. What's your thought on that? Because it was a very male-dominated industry, wasn't it? Did you see that changing over the years in terms of the roles that women... How did it change?
Well, as I say, going back to drawing stores, we had 4 or 5 ladies in there, and they all used to look after the drawings and different things, print stuff off for you. But eventually, apart from the secretaries, if you like, in the offices, which were ladies as well, eventually you used to get the girls on the shop floor doing, different roles, apprentices coming in, engineering apprentices for fitting and electrician. So it was starting to change back in the, I would say the 90s, really.
Good.
When the ladies started coming in on the shop floor, which is a good thing. Can't be all male dominated.
No.
Although it was a male dominated. And also, you used to get unfortunately, the language.
Yeah, you get language and comments.
Whistles and things like that when the secretaries went past. But unfortunately, that was the times. You go back to the 60s, even beyond that, it was a sign of the times. Different nowadays, of course,
Because the irony being, go back a little bit further, 20 years before that, and you've got Lancasters being assembled by women.
Exactly, yeah. But fortunately, when the Lancaster and other industries as well, the men came back from the war. Those who did come back from the war, they wanted the jobs back. So unfortunately, they got the jobs back, and the ladies sort of took a back seat and went back to the home life.
And looking back again over that whole career span of 23 years, if there was one period that you could go back to, what would that be, and why would that period be perhaps a bit of a golden moment? Was it all brilliant?
It was all good. There were bad times, which I won't talk about. On the whole, I used to love coming to work, doing what I had to do at the end of the day. You got some interesting people. Used to come round. We had the King of Tonga came round, wasn't looking for a 748. That was an education to see that, because he was a big chap.
So I gather.
Yeah, we had to have a special golf cart built for him so he could drive around.
So he was on a buggy.
Yeah, exactly. And also we had royalty coming in when we were down at the Flight Test Centre. Royalty used to come in quite some time, Princess Anne, Princess Diana, the Queen, and the Duke, used to come in.
And did you get the chance to at least
You
be introduced, or you saw them? Yeah.
You saw them in the background. I was quite close to Diana at one point.
Yeah.
But obviously, you couldn't get that close.
No.
You always knew when royalty were coming in because the day before you used to get a couple of cars come in and
security,
dressed in suits, special grants, so you knew something was coming.
Bits tidying up and sprucing up. Yeah. You mentioned, Andy, clearly that there would have been harder times, weren't there? Because the aviation industry had its ups and downs. What perhaps were the more difficult times in that period?
They used to get also unrest here with strikes and what have you. Some I agreed with, some I didn't agree with. But we're always being called out, if you like, which was very frustrating. I would say, personally, I'm being a bit controversial here, but I was a member of the union. But from my point of view, maybe I shouldn't say this, but the unions lost me a lot of money rather than gained me a lot of money, if you like. And also they did some good things. They got us some decent wage rises, But on other cases, I thought it was a bit unnecessary for one-day strike actions and stuff like
that. There must have been some funny moments, I'm sure, that might come to mind. I mean, talking to people who've worked here, I think it wasn't all serious. There was an element of fun. What's anything you can recall then? Yeah,
there was one funny moment, and we used to have what they call vac men. They were cleaners, and they used to go around with a vac. The vacuum was outside the aircraft, and they had a big long pipe coming through the aircraft. And what they used to do, they used to vac under the floors where the mechanical guys were drilling and the electricians were cutting wires and stuff. And they used to vac all this out. We called it FOD, foreign object debris. There was this one guy, we were on the aircraft, and he bent down to pick something up. He stuck his vacuum pipe under his arm. It was either a draftsman or an engineer came on board with a drawing and a tape measure, and he bent down and he got too close to this pipe, and he was wearing a wig, and this wig was from the pipe. And this guy, poor old guy, didn't know what to do. He just grabbed the wig and ran down the stairs. It was so funny. Embarrassing for him, obviously, but it was so funny.
Like something out of a TV comedy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And you used to get all sorts of guys doing different things. You used to get nicknames. Everybody had a nickname called the Electric Mouse at one point.
Is that because you could get in all
and
corners?
They used to walk fairly quickly as well. And the Gnome, that was another one, because we used to wear green overalls. On the whole, it was some good fun. You used to be able to get all sorts here. You used to be able to buy fish. We had one guy that sold fish on a Friday, from his boot. You used to get your hair cut if you wanted it. Yeah.
It's a whole little subculture of little enterprises.
That's right. Buy jeans and tops and things like that. Well, look like enterprise it was, And we had one guy who used to go swimming regularly. We used to have water tanks, emergency water tanks, and they were fairly deep, quite long. And this guy used to go swimming in them at lunchtime. So, interesting times, I would say.
Any hair-raising moments, where, I don't know, near misses and things like that? I heard one or two stories.
Yeah, we had an unfortunate incident. I wasn't here on site at the time. It was on the Buccaneer. One of the ejection seats went off in the hangar and unfortunately injured and killed a chap, unfortunately. I was on a working party down at Boscombe Down with a Buccaneer. We're doing some tests down there and we got the telephone call that this chap had unfortunately been killed. And that was a bit of a hair-raising moment, because they cleared the hangar, so down tools everybody out.
Yeah. Presume a big...
I knew the guy,
Yeah.
So,
I presume a big investigation to find out what happened. Yeah. We mentioned some of these different aircraft that you worked on. I had a little look just in Wikipedia. I don't know how accurate Wikipedia is, but I find of the ones you mentioned, supposedly still 8 ATPs in service in Kenya, HS-125 military variations in Japan, and 146s, I think they gave a number for that, 54 still in airline service. I think that was July 2020. It's good to know, isn't it, that some of
during the Buccaneer days, we had 3 development Buccaneers, which were, we had a small group of people. We had one mechanical inspector, one electrical inspector, which was myself, electricians, a couple of fitters, and it was just a small group looking after 3 development aircraft. And in the meantime, we had a HS-125 come in for a conversion. It was a cockpit conversion where one side was a Harrier and the other side was a conventional 125. You know, that was quite interesting project to work on. As I say, I used to go on flight trials.
Yeah.
I went to Greenland on a 125 for a week. That was fairly interesting. That was minus 42. You couldn't stay out in it for more than 20 minutes.
Was that a specific thing about cold temperatures and
we were
testing?
doing cold weather trials. Apparently it was for a customer in a cold country, and they wanted to see how it performed, you know. So we used to leave it on cold soak overnight. Used to take the battery out of it and then put the battery back in the morning and see if it would start up. And it did.
And how long would you be away doing that sort of?
A week.
A week?
Yeah. Greenland. Yeah, that was interesting.
And you'll put up somewhere and
hotel.
Hotel.
Yeah. Reindeer burgers and stuff like that.
Fantastic. So that was a very cold experience. Did you get to any warmer climes on your overseas flight trials?
Roswell was quite hot. Stockton in California was quite hot.
And what was happening there?
We were doing G-Lux again. We took that out there for engine tests. It was the same time. You know, we went from Roswell to Stockton in California. We were out there 3 or 4 weeks in Stockton. Then we moved on to Alabama. Down there, the temperature difference, because California's dry heat and the south is very, very humid heat. You know, you open the aircraft door and you got wafted.
It's like stepping into an oven, isn't it?
Exactly. You know.
So it was great because you got those opportunities to see parts of the world that you probably wouldn't.
There again,
otherwise.
125 went to Iceland.
Right.
You know, there again spent a week in Iceland, Reykjavik. Travelled about a little bit. I'm thankful for. Some good trips. You know, Cyprus, that was another one.
All right.
Yeah.
And what did you do there?
That was there again. It was engine tests on different aircraft this time. It wasn't G-Lux, it was different aircraft.
People do like to hear a little bit about what our interviewees do at the museum now. So that would be interesting just to talk about that for a moment or two.
I joined the museum. I knew it was here. I joined the museum in 2019 when I totally retired. And I do the electric, you know, help out with the electrics. We've done all the electrics. There's myself and another guy called Alan Shaw, and another chap who sadly passed away. We did the electrics on the Vulcan 603.
Well, that's been a big job, hasn't it?
That's been a big job, yeah. Done some of the electrics on 602. The electrics is, again, with Alan on the 748 cockpit.
And how do you get parts if you need parts?
Some of the parts are hard to come by, you know. We have a guy called Ray Reader who sources a lot of
Ray's chatted to us, yeah.
He sources a lot of the parts out, you know.
Because it did make me think some of the aircraft I mentioned that are still in service, how are they getting the parts, you know?
Yeah, exactly. yeah. Like some of the Nimrod, you know, Nimrod, they're going out of service. I would like to get some of the parts off those, but I don't know how you go about it. I don't know where they are. I'd like a set of complete wiring diagrams, which we haven't got in the museum.
Did they go in the fire then? Was that one of the things that went in the fire?
Yeah, they got in the archive.
59,
I don't know where I get those from.
No.
I don't even know if they exist now. I know Manchester have got some on their Nimrod. I don't know where they got theirs from.
The one at the airport, the runway visitor.
Interesting.
So interesting work. So it's really anything electrical really that the people will turn to you and your colleague and say, right, solve that issue.
That's what I normally do on a Tuesday. On a Friday when I come in, I do talks on the Vulcan, guided talks on the Vulcan.
Oh, so you do Vulcan talks,
with the Panthers that come in. Members of the public, actually.
And that's on the 603 on the big tours. Or you do the 602 on the shorter tours, yeah. Great. And what reaction do you get in that from the public? Because of course,
on the whole, very good.
Yeah.
On the whole,
because it's all an age thing, isn't it? Because for the older ones, it really means something. For the ones that, I'm not talking about, even middle-aged people, and Vulcan's a bit of a distant memory.
When I do the talks, I normally ask people, are you aircraft orientated?
Yeah.
Have you worked on aircraft? Are you just an enthusiast, you know? And I get various responses. Some people say, no, I don't know anything about them, you know, it's just an interest, you know, which is fair enough. So we get the other people who, I was a flight crew or I was a pilot. Then you say, oh, right. I say, all right, well, you can tell me. We had a pilot on board the other week and, I was giving that talk and he was listening to it. And I turned around to him and said, "Is that okay? Does that sound?" "Yeah, that's fine." And I said, "If you have anything to say, because I learned from you as well. So I make sure I'm saying the right thing to the right people." I've learned a lot since I've been here. Although I've worked on Vulcans, worked on them during the crisis in Falklands in 19.
Oh, tell us what was
converted. I was there again.
So this is 82, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we converted 3 into tankers here, tanker aircraft, and I was in electrical inspection.
Right. So what was the brief? You didn't get very long, presumably, did you? Because
Falklands was on it from April the 4th, I think, to 26th of June, I think. Right. I think I've got that time right. Converted 3 of them into tankers. We converted the Nimrods and having refueling probes on them. Because Nimrods originally didn't have refueling probes, so it was a tight time scale. So,
national emergency, isn't it?
Interesting thing. You could work all hours you wanted to. If you
really,
wanted.
Yeah.
And
what was
people did?
And was there increased security then as well? Because presumably what you're doing is
security.
It's all you don't want anybody else to know about it, do you?
Going back to security angle, I'm going jumping ahead now. Back 9/11, just after 9/11, when was it Bin Laden?
Yeah,
that chap. We had a cleaner, and I was working on the Nimrod Mark IVs then in a totally secure area, and we had a cleaner, and one of the lads went in the loo to do what I had to do, wash his hands, and they heard this noise coming from one of the stalls. They got somebody else to come. Anyway, they got security to come, and it was this guy with a picture of Bin Laden in front of him, hiding to Bin Laden. So that was nasty. That was a Saturday morning. So he was, let's say, taken off the premises.
Absolutely.
That was just after 9/11.
It's quite a chilling moment, that, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
Yeah. There again.
That's life, isn't it? And it's been a great privilege and pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
And who knows, we might get a chance to chat again when we get the studio up and running and come back and see the studio and we can talk a bit more. Thank you ever so much. Thank you. Thanks once again to Andy. Don't forget you can receive alerts when a new episode of the podcast is available if you follow us on your podcast device and enable push notifications. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Keep on listening. Until you join us again, it's goodbye from me, Chris Bessick. Bye-bye.
Make sure you follow us in your podcast app to ensure that you don't miss out on future episodes.